Okay, friends. Here's a really weird dream for you. I just got up and I've been having these really weird headaches and stuff. So I just been sleeping a lot, trying to get rid of these weird sinus headaches. But anyhow, it was weird. I was young, and I had moved into this apartment 33 years ago, and I told the landlord lady, and they were old looking, and it was like back in the 60s, and they looked like reminded me of Ralph Furley and his wife, but it was Mr. Roper and the other lady, and anyhow, and they told me that, okay, you're going off on a holiday, you better pay rent first. So I paid my rent and everything, and everything was fine and everything, and I'd lived there for 33 years up in the top corner apartment. Nothing was wrong. I had, and everything, and so I left. And I told him, okay, rent's paid up and everything, and I'm going to come back and stuff, and but okay, so I went off on my holiday. I had got fun time, inherited my grandma's dog, which is really weird because my grandma's dog is my dog that I have now, and it's so weird because my dog is a big dog and she's a terrier mix. But anyhow, she's as small as a kitten in my dream, and she's doesn't bark or yip or bite or anything. And you tell her to come here, she jumps into your lap, she sits in your lap. So it's really bizarre. And I had a cat, and that was weird. But anyhow, I come back from my little vacation, my holiday vacation, to see family and stuff. And my landlord, the female, comes in and she says, "Hey, I evicted you while you were gone, and I broke up with my husband, Mr. Furland. Not Mr. Furley, which is really bizarre. Mr. Furland, which is really weird." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And she says, "Well, I evicted you because you weren't here." I says, "Yeah, I told you I was going off on vacation." And like I said, this is a really weird dream. But anyhow, excuse me, I just burped. Burp, 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 bleh. But anyhow, um, I'm like, okay. I says, "Well, is there anywhere around here for that I could move to real quick?" I says, "Because I've got to get back to work and I've got stuff to do." She's, "Yeah, the little corner apartment. The guy moved out. He left it, all his furniture. It's completely furnished," she says, "but it's nice." I'm like, "Okay." She says, "If you don't mind disco balls and stuff like that." I says, "No, no." She says, "He even left his plants." I'm like, "Okay." But anyhow, it was just so weird and everything. But I moved in there and I had friends, and my dad had set me up a cell phone, a phone and everything. And there were weird windows that surrounded all the way around a bar on the bottom floor and everything, and it was just weird. You had to walk into down these stairs, like maybe three or four stairs, to get down into the kitchen. It was way down into the ground, and everything. And it was just so weird because of the levels. And it was just a two-level apartment. And it was just bizarre, and you had to crawl on your belly to go out to the back deck for security, so that no one could break in, because a criminal isn't a robber or whatever isn't going to want to crawl on his tummy to crawl through your back patio door. And so I had to do that, and I met the neighbor that lived up above me, a cute gal. She was all dressed in purple, even her shoes were purple and pink. And my dad, for some reason, had painted my banister hot pink. And she's like, "Oh, I like your banister." I says, "Yeah," and everything. She almost stepped on my hand because I had to crawl back out, back inside and everything. And you could stand up, but you got to lay down and crawl to get back inside because of the weird door and everything. It's not a full door. You had to crawl in. It was just weird, and my landlord, Mr. Furlan, is sitting at my table, and he's like, "Where'd you get this phone? I don't like this phone. You're a young gal. All these guys around and everything. I don't like this phone." He's sitting there stripping my phone off and taking the plastic part off and everything and stuff. And I'm like, "Why are you doing that to my phone?" He says, "It's just not right." And I've got another friend that came over, and I said, "This is weird. Dreams are weird." But he was my brother's friend, and he had just gotten out of the war, and he'd been out of the war for a couple months now. And he was telling him to go in the kitchen on his cell phone and everything. But that's weird about this, because this takes back in time, back in the 50s and 60s. They didn't have cell phones back then. But anyhow, he pulls out his really nice looking cell phone, and he's like talking on it, and Mr. Furlan's making all of these weird rocket noises and everything, and my friends in the kitchen, my brother's friends in the kitchen's all freaking out and everything. It's like bullets whizzing around him and everything. And he says, "You cannot go into town with him, Mr. Furlan, alone by yourself tomorrow." I says, "He's not gonna harm me or anything." "Yeah, he says he's an old dude. You don't know what he could do. He could put people in cages in their rooms." I'm like, "Oh gosh, weird. Okay." But anyhow, and it was just really bizarre and weird and everything. And he says, "Yeah, you got to make sure you close your curtains when you're not home, or when you're home." I says, "Why?" He says, "Well, I happened to be walking by the other day ago, and you were in here cooking. You just had on a little top and little shorts. Everybody doesn't need to see you in your little shorts." I'm like, "Okay." He says, "You just got to take hold of this little cord here and pull it all the way around the room, around the kitchen area and the living area." and it'll just slide. I'm like, okay. So he told me that until, you can't be walking around in your little shorts, you look naked. I'm like, okay, Mr. Furlan. But anyhow, I went into town with him, and this weird lady, he was attracted to some weird lady on the bus, and she just kept saying, we got to get more plants. We got to get more plants. So Mr. Furlan's like, got to get some more plants. I'm like, okay, just follow the little old weird looking lady. But that was my messed up dream. It was so bizarre. And on the bottom floor, there's this, in the kitchen area. I forgot to tell you that on the bottom floor of my apartment, there, the kitchen area, and there's a table, and there's little tiny windows all the way around, and it's like really gets really warm on the bottom floor. I don't know why, but anyhow, there were plants and everything, and you had to open. I had to, so I don't smoke out my apartment when you're cooking, because it just, sometimes your stovetop gets all weird and gets smoky. I said, you got to open up the windows. You just got to push a button, and the windows would slide open. I'm like, wow, weird, but nobody could get in them or anything, unlike the other weird stuff. But anyhow, that was my messed up, weird, laid back, not laid back, but weird 50s, 60s dream. And my weird disco, I had a disco ball off from the kitchen. I had like this weird dancing room. It had a weird floor and everything that you push a button and it would change colors, and the ball up above you would go, and it was just a really cool dream. I wish wish you could just get into your brain and get pictures and take pictures out. It'd be really gnarly, man. Really cool. Okay, that's my bizarre dream. I don't know what I'm gonna call it. Okay, bye bye. Love you. Throw bunny poo. That's me.